At exactly 1 minute ago, the deceptive silence over the heavily fortified horizons of the Middle East dissolved into an absolute kinetic nightmare as Israel launched a massive, multi-domain preemptive strike targeting the most critical subterranean strategic assets belonging to Iran. This sudden and unprecedented escalation instantly transformed a long-simmering shadow war into an open, high-intensity conflict that drew the immediate attention of global powers and shook the geopolitical foundations of the entire region. For months, the military leadership of Iran had been actively consolidating its positioning sophisticated air defense networks, coordinating regional proxy forces, and reinforcing its deeply buried nuclear and command facilities within the rugged terrain of the Zagros Mountain. Israel, recognizing this rapid buildup as an existential threat to its national security, chose to execute a highly complex, coordinated operation designed to systematically dismantle Iran's offensive capabilities before a massive retaliatory strike could be organized against Israeli city. As the initial waves of Israeli stealth fighter jets, specifically the highly advanced F-35 Lightning platforms, penetrated deep into contested airspace, they operated under absolute electronic silence, utilizing cutting-edge stealth coatings and internal jamming suites to completely evade the comprehensive early warning radar networks that Iran had deployed along its western perimeter. Simultaneously, the strategic dynamics shifted rapidly across the borders of Palestine, where local security forces and civilian populations witnessed a dramatic and terrifying surge in electronic warfare activity, as tactical jamming units deployed by Israel completely flooded the local electromagnetic spectrum, effectively blinding all regional communication nodes and turning the local airspace into a total information black hole. The United States, maintaining a robust and highly visible military posture throughout the eastern Mediterranean and the Red Sea, immediately placed its naval and air assets on the highest state of operational readiness, preparing its powerful carrier strike groups to provide comprehensive satellite intelligence, data fusion, and defensive umbrella support to Israel if the conflict expanded into a wider regional conflagration involving multiple state actors. Iran's military command, operating from deep within reinforced concrete bunkers designed to withstand conventional bombardment, scrambled frantically to mount a cohesive defense, ordering its long-range ballistic missile batteries and massive swarms of domestic loitering munitions to activate their guidance systems and prepare for an immediate, large-scale counterstrike targeting major Israeli infrastructure. The tactical environment became claustrophobic and intensely volatile as Iranian radar operators desperately attempted to achieve a solid targeting lock on the incoming Israeli stealth aircraft, only to find their phased array radar screens completely overwhelmed by a relentless, multi-layered wave of digital white noise and false target signatures generated by the sophisticated electronic countermeasures of Israel and its strategic partner. In Palestine, the immediate repercussions of this massive aerial engagement were felt as border security forces went to general quarters, bracing for an imminent wave of asymmetric rocket fire from local militant factions who operated under the direct ideological and financial influence of Iran, and who sought to exploit the chaotic distraction of the primary engagement to breach Israeli border defenses. For several agonizing minutes, the skies over the entire theater were filled with the silent, deadly trajectories of low-flying cruise missiles and the invisible, destructive pulses of high-powered microwave weapons, as Israel aggressively targeted the core communication towers, radar installations, and command and control centers of the Iranian state, aiming to completely paralyze their defensive coordination before a systematic counteroffensive could be launched. The overarching military doctrine of Iran relied extensively on the concept of saturation warfare, intending to launch hundreds of ballistic missiles simultaneously to overwhelm the multi-tiered air defense network of Israel. But the incredible speed and technological precision of the initial Israeli strike completely disrupted the Iranian chain of command, leaving localized missile crews isolated and unable to receive definitive launch codes from their central command in Tehran. Israeli commanders, monitoring the unfolding battle from their sophisticated underground command center in Tel Aviv, watched with absolute intensity as the digital map of the theater updated in real time, showing the precise trajectories of each F-35 as they dropped heavy, bunker-busting munitions designed to penetrate dozens of meters of solid rock and reinforced concrete to reach the hidden military assets of Iran. The strategic coordination between Israel and the United States proved to be flawless, as American early warning satellites detected the thermal plumes of the few mobile missile launchers that Iran managed to deploy from Hidden Valley, immediately relaying the precise geographic coordinates directly to Israeli strike packages hovering high above the combat zone. In Palestine, the civilian population endured an atmosphere of profound dread as the distant, thunderous rumbles of supersonic jet engines and heavy explosions echoed across the hills, signaling to the entire world that the strategic balance of power in the Middle East was being violently and permanently rewritten in a matter of hours. Iran attempted to salvage its deteriorating tactical position by ordering its naval special forces and fast attack craft in the Persian Gulf to conduct aggressive harassment maneuvers against international shipping lanes, hoping that the threat of a global economic chokehold would force the United States and other Western allies to pressure Israel into an immediate cessation of hostility. However, Israel had already deployed its own specialized naval assets to secure critical maritime corridors, while United States destroyers equipped with the advanced Aegis combat system established an ironclad naval blockade that effectively neutralized the Iranian fast attack craft before they could deploy their anti-ship cruise missiles against civilian vessels inside the primary strike zones. The devastating impact of the Israeli precision-guided munitions began to take a massive toll on Iran's strategic infrastructure, as a series of highly accurate hits collapsed the main entrance tunnels and ventilation systems of Iran's largest underground missile storage facility, trapping vital equipment and personnel beneath thousands of tons of displaced rock and debris. As the structural integrity of the Iranian command complexes began to fail, Israeli cyber warfare units launched a coordinated, high-intensity digital offensive that successfully bypassed the primary firewalls of Iran's military intranet, injecting destructive malware that caused critical automated systems to shut down completely, leaving the remaining Iranian air defense batteries entirely blind and unable to track any incoming threats. Meanwhile, the localized escalation continued to expand along the borders of Palestine, where regional proxy groups loyal to Iran launched a flurry of short-range rockets aimed at Israeli border settlements, triggering the immediate activation of the Iron Dome defense system, which filled the night sky with dozens of interceptor missiles that successfully neutralized the incoming threats in a brilliant display of kinetic defensive capability. The United States issued an immediate, stern warning to all neighboring countries, explicitly stating that any nation attempting to provide material support or airspace access to Iran during this active conflict would face direct, devastating military consequences from the massive array of American combat aircraft and naval assets deployed throughout the theater. This explicit warning from Washington did not entirely deter the leadership of Iran, who, in a desperate bid to project strength, authorized the launch of a wave of 12 medium-range ballistic missiles from hidden launch sites deep within the Iranian interior, directing them toward critical Israeli airfields and strategic command installations. The entire global community held its breath as these high-speed ballistic threats streaked into the upper atmosphere. But the multi-layered air defense architecture of Israel, featuring the advanced David Sling and Arrow missile interception systems, responded with flawless mechanical precision, tracking the Iranian warheads through the heavy electromagnetic interference and launching interceptors that systematically destroyed 11 of the 12 incoming missiles high above the Earth's surface. The single remaining Iranian ballistic missile, severely degraded by the intense electronic countermeasures deployed by Israel, veered significantly off its intended trajectory and crashed harmlessly into an unpopulated desert valley, causing zero casualties or structural damage to Israeli military assets. In Palestine, the geopolitical shockwaves of this massive confrontation resulted in an immediate and total lockdown of all border crossings and transport corridors, as Israel took aggressive defensive measures to prevent any potential cross-border incursions or synchronized terrorist attacks, while its primary military forces were heavily engaged in neutralizing the strategic capabilities of Iran. The United States Air Force maintained continuous airborne refueling and electronic combat orbits just outside the active conflict zone, ensuring that Israeli strike aircraft had an uninterrupted supply of fuel and real-time electronic support to counter any residual threats that Iran might attempt to bring to bear. The immense depth and thoroughness of the Israeli operation became increasingly apparent as secondary strike packages targeted Iran's advanced drone manufacturing facilities and research laboratories, delivering a catastrophic blow that defense analysts estimated would effectively set back Iran's long-range drone and missile capabilities by at least a decade. The political and military elite of Iran, facing the total humiliation of their highly publicized air defense networks and the systematic destruction of their most prized strategic installations, attempted to initiate emergency diplomatic communications through neutral European and Middle Eastern intermediaries. But Israel remained resolutely focused on achieving its total operational objectives, refusing to entertain any ceasefire proposals until the immediate offensive threat from Iran was completely eradicated. The relentless intensity of the aerial campaign showed no signs of abating as the hours progressed, with Israel continuously deploying fresh squadrons of combat aircraft to hunt down and eliminate the remaining mobile missile launchers and radar stations that Iran had attempted to conceal beneath civilian infrastructure and within deep mountain passes. Concurrently, the complex internal situation in Palestine remained highly volatile, with localized protests and security skirmishes breaking out in response to the massive regional conflict, emphasizing the deep, inescapable interconnectedness of the security realities that bind Israel, Iran, Palestine, and the United States together in a perpetual cycle of geopolitical rivalry. The psychological impact of the devastating Israeli strikes was profoundly felt across the entire chain of command in Iran, as senior military officials struggled to maintain operational discipline among lower-ranking personnel who had spent years believing that their domestic defense systems were entirely capable of protecting the Iranian homeland from an external assault. The United States continued to flex its massive military muscle by moving additional carrier strike groups into positions that directly threatened the eastern and southern flanks of Iran, sending an unmistakable signal to the Iranian leadership that any further attempt to escalate the conflict or expand the theater of war would result in a direct, catastrophic engagement with the full conventional power of the American military. Throughout this entire high-stakes engagement, Israel demonstrated an absolute mastery of modern, network-centric warfare, seamlessly blending raw kinetic power with advanced cyber attacks, electronic jamming, and real-time satellite intelligence to completely outmaneuver and paralyze an adversary that possessed a vast numerical advantage in terms of conventional forces and missile stockpiles. The profound lessons derived from this intense, 45-minute opening salvo would undoubtedly be studied by military strategists and defense analysts across the globe for generations, as the flawless integration of Israeli stealth capabilities, United States intelligence infrastructure, and multi-layered defensive networks completely redefined the parameters of strategic deterrence in the modern era. As the thick plumes of smoke slowly began to rise from the shattered remnants of Iran's primary command and control facilities, the true, devastating extent of the military disaster for Iran became unmistakably clear to the entire world, revealing that Israel had successfully neutralized more than 80% of Iran's active long-range missile storage capabilities and completely severed the vital communication links that allowed the central leadership in Tehran to coordinate effectively with its various proxy forces stationed along the volatile borders of Palestine. This decisive, overwhelming action left the state of Iran profoundly isolated, structurally crippled, and facing an incredibly grim and uncertain future in a transformed region where the regional balance of power had shifted permanently, decisively, and undeniably in absolute favor of Israel and its Western allies, ensuring that any future attempt by Iran to project aggressive military power would be met with the same immediate, terrifying, and final precision that had defined this historic day of conflict.